What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Saturday, September 14th, 2024, and I have another emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now it is 20:31 Eastern Time in the United States, and I'm recording this in Poland. We have some major breaking news coming in from Eastern Europe. It does appear that we are on the verge of World War III and possibly nuclear war. So earlier today, the president of the U.S., Joe Biden, rejected Putin's threats about the U.S. authorizing Ukraine to use their weapons and NATO weapons to conduct deep strikes in Russia. So Biden said, quote, "I do not accept the version that the bombing of targets in Russia with Storm Shadow missiles will be tantamount to the start of a NATO war with the Russian Federation." And he made this statement after a meeting with the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and this was on Friday. So this is very, very serious, guys. Okay, Biden rejecting Putin's threats. Okay, Putin said that if the U.S. and NATO authorize the use of their long-range weapons to conduct deep strikes in Russia, it would be the same thing as NATO striking Russia, because according to Putin, Ukraine does not have the capability to operate these weapons, and therefore Putin believes that it's NATO that's operating these weapons. So, guys, this is extremely serious, and what's also serious is that Russia has evacuated all of their Black Sea fleet from their ports. So here we have a satellite picture of the Novorossiysk port, which has all of their Black Sea fleet ships since the Ukraine war started. They used to be in Sevastopol. They moved them to Novorossiysk because they were within striking distance of Ukrainian missiles and drones. Novorossiysk is closer to Sochi, where Putin's mansion is, and it's further away from Ukraine. But now looks like Russia has evacuated all of their Black Sea fleet ships, which is very concerning. It means that Russia is preparing for a possible massive strike on Ukraine. When that's going to be, I have no idea. But this is very, very concerning. It could be that they move them out of the port and put them on high alert in case Ukraine does conduct deep strikes on Russian territory with NATO weapons. They would use these ships to retaliate and strike either NATO or Ukraine. Okay, so this is extremely concerning. And also what's concerning is in the last 48 hours, Russia sent some maritime surveillance and submarine hunting aircraft to the Alaskan ADIZ. Okay, that's the Alaskan Air Defense Identification Zone. Apparently the aircraft remained over international waters and did not cross into the U.S. or Canadian airspace during their flight. So Russia sending maritime surveillance and submarine hunting aircraft to Alaska in the last 48 hours. They sent a pair of these planes twice in the last 48 hours, and we actually sent a B-52 up there, and I don't know if that was related to this or something else. Now, we're hearing some very concerning news that the family of Russian Ambassador Anatoly Antonov has reportedly left the U.S. and returned to Russia. And we're hearing that the families of other senior diplomats from Russia's embassy in Washington and its consulate in New York have also reportedly departed the U.S. this week. According to sources familiar with Russian diplomatic operations in the U.S., the remaining senior diplomats from Russia are now operating with skeleton staffing levels at both the embassy and the consulates. Okay, so that is a huge sign that war is about to break out possibly between NATO and Russia. And the Russian leadership has issued a follow-up statement to Putin's Thursday brief video address warning that if the US and the UK authorize Ukraine to pursue long-range strikes on Russian soil, then NATO and the Russian Federation will be in an official state of war. On Friday, Russia's ambassador to the UN, Vasily Nebenzia, informed the UN Security Council that NATO countries would, quote-unquote, start an open war in allowing Western long-range missiles to target Russia. Quote, if such a decision is made, that means NATO countries are starting an open war against Russia, end quote, Moscow's envoy said. Quote, in that case, we will obviously be forced to make certain decisions with all the attendant consequences for Western aggressors, end quote, okay? So the ambassador to the UN from Russia basically reiterating what Putin said. We have senior Russian diplomats and their families leaving the Russian embassy in D.C. and in New York. And before I continue with the breaking news, I just wanted to mention the sponsor for this update, which is My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply is doing a 25% discount on their mega 3-month emergency food supply, and to get the deal, you got to go to preparewith.nyprepper.com, and the link is in the description below this video. But this is basically like their normal 3-month emergency food supply with some extra stuff. Is freeze-dried, so it lasts 25 years. It's packaged in rugged, watertight buckets that don't take up a lot of space. So it's just a no-brainer. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get 25% off of the My Patriot Supply Mega 3-month emergency food supply. We also have some very concerning news coming from Bloomberg. Russia has apparently increased its cooperation with Iran in the area of atomic weapons in recent months. Bloomberg reported Saturday, citing Western officials familiar with the matter. The US and the UK are increasingly concerned that Russia is sharing with Iran secret information and technology that could bring it closer to being able to build nuclear weapons in exchange for Iran providing Russia with ballistic missiles for its war in Ukraine, the report said. Wow. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said in a security meeting that a wide-scale operation against Hezbollah is expected soon. That is very concerning. And remember, a couple of days ago, the CENTCOM commander Kirilla visited the IDF military headquarters and met with the IDF chief of staff. So obviously they were going over battle plans. Okay, so it looks like these two theaters are about to kick off. Okay, Iran getting nuclear weapons technology from Russia, and Russia and NATO about to go to war, possibly World War III about to break out over these long-range weapons going to Ukraine. Very serious situation, guys. Okay, Israel about to start a wide-scale operation against Hezbollah. And U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that America stands with Poland when it comes to violations of its airspace by Russia. Blinken, during a meeting with Radosław Sikorski, the Polish foreign minister, was as quoted by TVN24. Journalists asked Blinken whether the Polish authorities had asked the U.S. about the possibility of shooting down Russian objects flying in from Russia. He replied that regarding airspace violations, we stand by Poland's right to defend itself. Blinken recalled, we have ironclad commitment to NATO, to Article 5. President Biden, when he was here in Poland, said that the U.S. is committed to defend every square inch of NATO territory. So this is very interesting. It looks like Blinken is on damage control right now because just about a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago, the Polish foreign minister and the Polish prime minister said that NATO does not allow them to shoot down Russian missiles and Russian drones that fly into their airspace. So now Blinken is basically doing damage control because he knows that Poland is pissed off. And the Chinese Defense Minister Dong Jun publicly announced today that China will militarily support Russia if NATO attacks Russia. Okay, very concerning. Also, an advisor to the supreme leader of Iran arrived in Belarus 2 days ago. The plane flew from St. Petersburg, where a meeting of top security officials of the BRICS member countries was held on September 10th through the 12th. Secretary of the Supreme National Security Council Ali Akbar Ahmadian represented Iran at the meeting. In addition to representatives of Russia, China, and other BRICS member states, there were also participants from Belarus, Turkey, Kazakhstan, etc. So this is interesting. The advisor to the supreme leader of Iran going to Belarus. What are they going to work out? I have no idea. Maybe Belarus is going to get some of those Iranian drones, and then they can use those to strike Poland. Okay, we know that a couple of days ago, Belarus and Russia were conducting tactical nuclear missile strike drills right on the border of Poland. Poland is on high alert right now. So the situation is really spiraling out of control, and I do believe in the coming weeks we're going to see all hell break loose. I think we're going to see Ukraine conduct the deep strikes into Russia. And I think Russia's going to retaliate somehow. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to happen. I don't know if they're going to strike NATO. I don't know if they're going to strike Ukraine with nuclear weapons, but they're going to do something crazy. Okay, Putin is going to do something crazy. I'm very, very concerned. And apparently the Israeli Special Forces conducted a highly unusual raid into Syria recently to destroy a major Iranian-backed precision missile factory and recover intelligence from it. And Japan scrambled fighter jets on Friday after Russian aircraft flew all around their airspace for the first time in 5 years, Tokyo said on Friday. From Thursday morning to the afternoon, the Russian Tu-142 aircraft flew from the sea between Japan and South Korea towards the southern Okinawa region, according to a Defense Ministry statement. This is the same type of plane that Russia sent to Alaska. Okay, this is a maritime surveillance plane. So what is Russia doing? They're obviously collecting information on Alaska and Japan to prepare for war. They then went northwards over the Pacific Ocean to finish their journey off of the northern Hokkaido Island. The planes did not enter Japanese airspace but flew over an area subject to a territorial dispute between Japan and Russia, the official said. In response, we mobilized Air Self-Defense Force fighter jets on an emergency basis, the ministry said in a statement. The last time Russian military aircraft circled Japan was in 2019, a ministry official told AFP on Friday, but that incident involved bombers that did not enter the nation's airspace. Earlier this week, Russian and Chinese warships began joint drills in the Sea of Japan. The drills are part of a major naval exercise that Russian President Vladimir Putin has described as the largest of its kind in 3 decades. They declared a no-limits partnership shortly before Russia launched its attack on Ukraine in 2022. So, very serious situation over there. And the General Staff of the Finnish Defense Forces has officially denied the information spread by the Russian media that drones were launched from Finnish territory to allegedly attack the Murmansk Oblast in Russia. Andrei Chibis, the governor of the Murmansk Oblast, reported on Tuesday that 3 drones had been used to attack the oblast. Later, various Russian Telegram channels started spreading groundless claims that the Ukrainian drones had been launched from the territory of Finland. They were picked up by the Russian government-owned Rossiyskaya Gazeta and the Kremlin-controlled NTV TV channel. The General Staff of the Finnish Defense Forces told YLE that the accusations are not true. Quote, the territory of Finland has not been and will not be used for alleged actions against Russia, end quote, the statement said. The Finnish General Staff added that Finland and its allies are monitoring the situation and will not comment further. Quote, it should be noted that this is a case of possible Russian information interference and the allegations made should be viewed critically. the Finnish General Staff said. And the Ukrainian army today pushed into a new area of the Russian Kursk Oblast. They entered into the Veselya region, which is just south of Glushkova. This is a new area that they have not targeted yet. We had a lot of high priority reconnaissance over Europe again over the last 48 hours. Here you can see a high priority reconnaissance plane that took off from Mildenhall in the UK, went all the way up to the Murmansk Oblast, and this is where Russia has their Northern Fleet base. That's where they have 2/3 of their nuclear armed submarines. So we just sent a high priority reconnaissance plane that sends intelligence information directly to the president and our top generals to Russia's largest nuclear armed submarine base. Okay, so what is going on over here that has us sending a high priority reconnaissance plane? Obviously something, okay? Obviously we're trying to snoop on the activity there and see how many Russian nuclear armed subs are in port. That tells us the readiness level of Russia's nuclear forces. If they have, let's say, 4 or 5 submarines in port, it means that they're basically in a normal status. But if there's maybe no Russian nuclear armed subs in port, or maybe just 1 or 2, it means that the Russian nuclear forces are on high alert and they've sent out their subs into the oceans for preparations for some kind of an escalation. And also a lot of reconnaissance here around Iceland, which I think could be tied to this action over here, sending the high priority reconnaissance to Murmansk. Lots of NATO reconnaissance activity in this area in the Norwegian Sea. This is an area where Russian subs have to transit through in order to get into the Atlantic. They have to go through this passage between Iceland and Norway. Okay, so it's like a little choke point here. And we've been sending AWACS planes and sub hunters basically every single day for the last week or so into this area. So something's going on over here. Here's another AWACS plane. And I want to just show you guys this B-52 that went all the way up to Alaska earlier today. And I don't know if this is related to the Russian surveillance aircraft that went up there, but this B-52 took off from Barksdale in Shreveport, Louisiana, and went all the way up to Alaska and then turned around and came back. At the same time, we also had this sub hunter off the coast of Washington State, and it was flying super low off the coast of Washington State. Now, one thing about Washington is we have our largest nuclear armed submarine base here in the Puget Sound at Bangor Kitsap base. That's where we have 2/3 of our nuclear armed subs, and that's also where we have our Trident missile storage site. So this is a critically important area for national security and for nuclear war. So it makes sense that they would patrol this area. It's possible that Russia is snooping on our nuclear armed subs just like we are doing to them, and they want to see our force posture, our nuclear force posture. And then we also had an aerial refueler go down into the Baja California area, which is pretty unusual. And this evening we had a P-8 Poseidon sub hunter off the coast of Poland and the Baltic countries here patrolling Kaliningrad yet again. So guys, things are about to get crazy. Here we have a Russian Air Force plane that went to Kaliningrad from mainland Russia. Here we have a French Air Force plane that landed in Lithuania. Tons of reconnaissance and fighter jet activity here in the North Sea. Just lots and lots of activity in this area. Here's another AWACS plane near Iceland. Here's another AWACS plane going to Iceland. And then we had a lot of reconnaissance in northern and eastern Poland, all around Kaliningrad. We had a high priority reconnaissance plane, a combat scent that flew around Kaliningrad. And at the same time, we had a Swedish reconnaissance plane patrolling the Baltic Sea, northern Poland, eastern Poland, and then another U.S. reconnaissance plane patrolling eastern Poland here, okay? So things are really spiraling out of control. Here's a picture of the Russian surveillance aircraft that circled Japan for the first time in 5 years. And we have some crazy weather in the Carpathian Mountains in Eastern Europe. Here in Poland, it's been raining like crazy. The last 48 hours, there's some really bad flooding going on in southern Poland, in Slovakia, Czech Republic, Romania, Hungary. The entire Carpathians region has had catastrophic flooding. You can see this massive storm system, which is dumping inches and inches of rain. Very, very unusual. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I might be back tomorrow with another update. If not, you can hang out in my 24/7 stream, which I have up right now. I have EAMs, I have flight trackers, I have live cams, and I have news updates going on over there. I also have other content that I'm going to be uploading from here in Poland and just other content in general. But until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.